Well, good morrow, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ, and welcome to me breaking, in a way, breaking a hard and fast rule I have on the show, and that is measuring our loves by basically ruining our hates, right? Talking about our hates. Um, I'm inspired and influenced by many things in my life, and I like to bring them out to you guys so that you guys maybe not influenced by the exact same things, but you go, you know what? I witnessed something or experienced something in my life, and I want to use that to be creative. And then sometimes we see things and we go, oh man, uh, maybe we need to um, be critical of certain things. So we're going to talk about a comparison between House of the Dragon and the Acolyte. Um, we're going to quickly push aside certain elements that are being focused on because they are very like triggering, slightly political. We're going to throw that aside and go into why uh, the writing on one of these shows is so exemplary, and the writing on another show you're just like, oh man, I'm halfway through this thing. Do I really want to sit it out and watch the whole thing? Okay, so we're going to talk about the Acolyte and House of the Dragon and how hard the red lightsaber wedding. That would be sweet. May the force be with you, King of the North. So let's get certain things out the way that are not going to be an issue when it comes to talking about the differences between these shows. Why one's getting blasted and flamed and being called horrible, because I even use those words, horrible, and the other one is so much better. Like you could just see a quality level that just um, from costuming to set design, and especially the writing, the dialogue, the setup of the dialogue, the world building is just like, what are you doing? So the the thing that's not going to happen in this conversation is um, the scared petty ass people out there with the so-called anti woke agenda. Let me be clear about something, and these two things are absolutely true, and um, destroy any argument about wokeism. Okay, the first one is there has always been an agenda. The agenda that has had more time and more influence than any other agenda is the fact that there's always been an agenda to exclude particular people of certain ethnicities, colors, genders, whatever, from an industry. The only reason that there's a new woke agenda is to get rid of the old agenda. All right, because of people who want to make a lot of money, they institute an agenda thinking that if they focus on this particular group of people or whatever, give the people what they want. Yang says, if I was anti woke, I wouldn't be here at 5 in the morning. That's true. Yeah, if you're one of the pansies who's got a fragile ego about other people getting their comeuppance, and you're afraid, you don't need to be part of this show. Just click off, thumbs down, click off, and you never have to see me again. Just do that, please do that. Okay. Here's the second thing that's true. Um, while there are the anti woke individuals out there, our entire society has been built, serviced, focused on, supported by, um, given energy, histories by all the people out there that you don't like. That car you drive, that building you go to, the electricity you use, the technology you have in your pocket, um, all of that, the role playing games we love, guess what? All the wokeisms you hate are built into those things. Yes, I guarantee you, someone of a particular political, governmental, religious background, ethnicity, whatever, help build that car you're driving and help, you know, design, the technology you use in your pocket, and the architect that built the buildings you go down, and the roads you drive on, and the food you eat, and all. Yeah, just because you don't know them, those individuals exist and have always existed throughout history. So that's the part we're not going to worry about. The fact that Star Wars has immaculate conception and lesbianism, which, if you really want to be technical, in a science fiction world that has nothing to do with Earth, we don't even know what the sexuality, we have an assumption of, but really it doesn't exist in that world in the same manner it exists in our world. Just like color doesn't exist in Star Wars either. No one mentioned, like, black, white, Caucasian, African American, Asian. That doesn't exist in Star Wars. That's a concept we came up with. Dank says, no, but seriously, I'm pro woke and I know art is inherently political, but paradoxically, if you are only thinking of politics, your art will suffer. Right. Because if you look hard enough, you can find anything. If you look hard enough at anything, you'll find a way to rationalize your particular opinion. And art is political. Oh, I'm not saying there isn't any politics in it. I'm saying that I'm saying that I agree that there is a woke agenda. I'm just saying that that agenda exists because of other agendas that happened beforehand. Yeah. That comment of mine isn't aimed at the Acolyte, simply because I've never seen it and so I can't really judge. Oh no, I'm with you, right? And so that part of the Acolyte has no bearing on this issue. What's happening in the Acolyte, and I'm not going to spoiler alert the Acolyte. What I'm saying is there are conversations happening amongst characters, and this has to do with writing, and this is a lesson we can learn for tabletop role-playing games. So in the thumbnail I use the word dialogue, expertise, and opinion, and that is not being exemplified in the Acolyte, which is absolutely being exemplified in House of the Dragon. So um having done a review, I went back and watched the first season of House of the Dragon, and I listened to a review, and someone said that the first season of House of the Dragon is so tight, there is no unusable um there's no useless space in it. Every time a character interacts with another character, every time they linger on a character's eyes or their back, or they come circling around and you see the environment and all that kind of stuff, excellent writing and editing in a television show, in a movie, has no wasted space, even if you think it's being wasted. If you see a character walking in the distance and you get to zoom in on them and stuff, they're giving you um, information. And that information could be emotional, whether it's loneliness or sadness or grand scale, or they're trying to imply with you that this one person has influence over a grand nation. Even a landscape scene lets you know the grandiosity of a thing, just as a close-up of someone's hand or their eye or their trembling lip or the back over their shoulder, or they're holding a small object. Even those scenes with no dialogue are giving us information. And uh, House of the Dragon is not giving us that. Drew says the Acolyte might not be perfect, but I cannot say the writing is bad. I think the argument about the good and badness of it is that we have. So let me get into my description of dialogue, expertise, and opinion. So when characters have dialogue with each other, what they are doing for us as a consumer is giving us more information, and that dialogue should advance the conversation, should be advancing the scene. So in other words, there's something that we didn't know at the beginning of a scene, and when characters begin conversing with each other, we learn something at the end of the scene. Now, many times there are three things happening in general, from my opinion, that happen when two characters talk. First of all, as a consumer, I'm learning something. So I'm learning something about the world and the greater world in general. And this is where characters, when they talk with each other, they are having opinions about what's going on in the world. So they don't necessarily need to talk about their feelings or their like one character is a merchant and says, I am a merchant and I sell things. And the other character says, well, I am a city guard and I guard things that so merchants don't get robbed and stuff. No, 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 no. That is one level of conversation. Characters explaining themselves. But we can learn a lot from characters who talk about other things. So if there's a new in fantasy in House of the Dragon, in science fantasy in Star Wars, characters may have discussions about the world, the Jedi and the Sith. And then we get to find out about their opinions and their personality based on their opinion of what's happening in the world. So we get to learn world building, we get to learn their opinion, we get to learn their personality, and whatever conflicts are happening. Maybe two characters disagree about whether the Sith even exist or not, and their usefulness. Maybe two characters are having a conversation, and one is like, well, I don't see what the Sith did wrong, or I understand why they exist. The other character is just like, you shouldn't even entertain that thought in your head. And we get to learn these new things. So as characters have dialogue, we learn about their feelings about a thing. We learn about their opinion about a thing. And we learn world building, what's going on in this world. And a great writer mixes all of that together so that the scene goes from us as a consumer knowing nothing to at the end of it, we get to learn something new. Drew mentions the channel Science Fiction with Damien. Walter had a great video about why the Acolyte is good, but probably not for older audiences since they are not the target audience. Exactly. And mind you, I do understand that Star Wars is written for a certain age group, but what's happening, what I'm finding in the writing in the Acolyte, and mind you, this is colored through a person who's of a certain age, who's consumed so much media that I'm probably being a little overcritical, but the word expertise. So sometimes we can forgive particular scenes or actions because we know or we're being told that characters have a certain expertise in whatever character they're portraying in our story. So if we watch a police procedural television show, we are visually and through dialogue, verbally being told these characters are a certain expertise level of detectives trying to solve a crime. Now, yes, in describing that, some of these characters we might be told aren't very good, and their expertise level is bottom level on purpose, and they're giving us clues as to why. Maybe characters don't care about the crime happening as police procedural. Another character is distracted because they have family things going on and they're worried about a thing. Maybe another character is being bribed, bought off. Yet another character we are given hints that they have a dark secret about the crime that was committed and they don't want it solved because they might have something to do with it, or they know someone, a family member that had something to do. So good writing gives us this information. In the Acolyte, it's been 4 episodes, and we are being shown a number of Jedi, and I don't know their personalities. I understand what the mission is. That's great. But I'm not given any information as to their differences, their allegiances. I understand they're Jedi. I get that. I'm fully immersed in it. I get that there may be a hidden dark force. I get that. The whole thing about the witches and the Immaculate Conception, I don't care about. When I say I don't care, I'm like, okay, that's part of the story. I love it. Great. Let me know about it. The plot point of a character needing to exact a personal mission who is doing it under a self-imposed limitation is we're being told this, but we're also being shown that the person isn't following their own rules, and why that rule exists, and why I understand sometimes in television and movies we have to have a character actually say the thing we're seeing, but the two aren't lining up, and we're not being at the end of a scene, we're not being given more information than we began at the beginning of the scene. And that is a problem that I'm having with some of the writing. I don't mind mysteries. I don't mind not knowing a thing, because I like a mystery show, because it's funny because sometimes my wife and I will watch a television show and she looks at me, she's like, well, why is that character doing this thing? And I'm like, well, we have to finish watching the show. But I would like to find out more ephemeral things, more emotion. That a lot of times it comes through with flashback. We can be given a visual, like as a clue, like a photograph or an object or something, or a location that a character goes to, and I go, I don't understand the context of what I'm seeing, but at least I'm being given more information, and that makes a really good mystery story. Drew says, I would even argue the Acolyte does the stuff from the Heroine's Labyrinth. It is not a crime show. It is about the feminine hero and her struggle with the dynasty of deceit. Now, I do. Now, see, I agree with you, wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I don't mind following these characters, or technically a specific character who is suffering a lot of pain and trauma, and uh, outwardly expressing that trauma in Star Wars, right? When we have the Force, we have lightsabers, we have weaponry and martial arts and things like that, which I love, and it's being combined with a character who is navigating her trauma when it comes to perfectly fine. And I actually think it's a great story element. I was expecting one thing, but I left my presuppositions at the door and just watching the show. I like the character, but there's other characters in the show, and I get nothing from them. Soul, I like his character, but these other characters, I'm like, who are you? And it doesn't need. I don't mean that they need to express. I need a full backstory. Really great side characters will have. Okay, here's an example. Let me do a comparison. There's a character in House of the Dragon known as Christian Cole. Christian Cole is yeah. Yeah, you're right there, and yeah. The NQ says, I think we're too harsh with the rule show don't tell. Novice writers try not to tell, but sometimes a writer needs those training wheels. Yeah, plus telling gives us acting monologues, which actors love to do. Exactly. And listen, writers get a lot of notes, and just because a character is standing on a cliffside crying over a photograph, right? And we see them, we love to have characters show their emotional state by burning, throwing away, closing the book on, locking away, tucking, that transformative state. And yet the writer will get a note from the upper people like, well, maybe the audience doesn't understand. We need the character to actually say, Mama, I am so sad, but I'm going to have to take this, step forward and be a man or something, and put the small single tear comes down the cheek and lands on the picture, and they put it back in their book or in their pocket or whatever, and then they storm back wiping the tears from their eyes, and now they're a different I get it. Listen, I get all that. But in House of the Dragon, we have a character named Christian Cole. And Christian Cole is they're breaking trope on the Prince Charming. We have a character who is literally a white knight in shining armor, right? And his little snarky um harumphs and eye rolls in the background are golden, because it's giving us information that he is such an asshole. And I love it because they let us see his eye roll, snarkiness, hands held behind the back, but you could tell he's just dismissive of people. And he's not a royal person. None of this stuff. He's literally overstepping his bounds in more ways than one if you've been watching House of the Dragon. Um, um, a bit naive, but does this character come across as building in our mindset that this person's more of a hypocrite and an asshole? Yes. And those little small details are we start a scene without knowledge and we get more knowledge about this character that maybe reinforces a behavior. We go, yeah, I remember. Yeah, you are in my mind this kind of person, and the writer is giving us that information. Uh, yeah, Drew says, honestly, I don't think stories have to show or tell everything. Especially Star Wars with all the Far East influences is often more about the atmosphere. I do agree with that as well. Um, you can, I don't really mind this as much as others, but you can tell that these many of the scenes that are filmed in Star Wars are filmed on a soundstage, and lots of shows are filmed on sound stages, right? They they hire individuals to place things in the background, and the characters wear outfits and the makeup and all that kind of stuff to show us things. And uh, the the mystery of, for me, I always appreciated the soft magic system, using Brandon Sanderson, of the Force. I really appreciated them not explaining so hard rules about how the Force works, how individuals get access to the Force and how it's used, and just giving us little clues here and there by not explaining it. Because Drew brings, I didn't read your entire comment here, but I just saw one thing. Yeah, Drew says that is why the midichlorians had been a problem, not just because they demystified the Force. My criticism exactly, but more that they are simply completely unnecessary explanation for something that is about all. Exactly. I think they I also think they also cut themselves off from telling greater stories about the Force, because the Force can be, this is a horrible way to describe it, but I hope it comes across positively. The Force is your Deus ex machina. Okay, the Force can be explained about predictions of the future, sensing dangers, life and death, guiding us towards stories where characters really shouldn't be able to know what's going on when they are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of miles, kilometers, light years away from a situation, and yet they are given. We can place two characters in this, intermingle them, even though they aren't in the same location. And yeah, Yoda has gut bacteria. That's why he has powers. Yeah. Also, it also divorced us as consumers from Star Wars, because as a kid, we always felt like maybe I had the Force, or they explain the Force flows through everything. So maybe, just maybe, some of the superheroics that our street level, baseline, inexperienced heroes that are running around doing a thing, is there bravery and superheroism kind of the Force involving themselves, maybe without explanation, right? There's been a um, slight, not rumor, but a postulation that every time Han Solo's like, I don't believe in the Force, that soon after he says a thing like that, the Force is actually helping him succeed when he really should have failed. And Drew says, and in that regard, I would say the use of symbolism is a sign of good writing, and the symbolism of fire that the Acolyte uses seems to me rather well done. Okay, all right. Now, I don't. Again, let me put this out there. I don't dislike the idea of the show. I really like the show. What I'm finding stressful with the show is that they are giving us clues about a thing, which is perfectly fine. And while I don't expect them to answer a show, especially when you're following a character that's going on these missions and things. And mind you, the idea is to keep us involved. So we're trying to figure out in our heads. But we have characters that are in the show that are not giving us a motivation. Many times when we have characters, it's like, what do they want? What do they need? And sometimes if we have a side character, I understand you can't focus on that side character, but giving them one or two lines of dialogue, or like I said, no dialogue, but we get to see their behavior, is a great way of finding out where this character stands. One of the Jedi who is very hesitant and is always like, putting their hand on someone's chest to hold them back, or separating two people that are about to fight, or stands in the way when two characters are about to come to blows, lets me know a motivation about that character. And I'm seeing characters walking around in the show, and I'm like, I really don't care about you because I have no idea why you're even here. And I don't mean the world building in the show that they're being told to do something. I'm saying, like, yeah, they're here, but what is their motivation for being there? You don't. And listen, 15 characters, you don't need all that. But for me, I'm finding that I'm still starting from step one. Like, I understand what you're doing and where the trauma's coming from. Give me some more information. Let me know more about you. And it doesn't need to be good information either. It could be a darker secret. It could be some form of guilt. It could be, which I feel like what they're showing us with these the Jedi that introduced themselves to the sisters. I can't remember their names. And there was a fire and the people, all that kind of stuff. I know I'm giving away a little bit too much. That causes drama. And I like that. I like the fact that, the Jedi aren't perfect. They made a mistake. And I'm like, that's really cool. But like, I feel like the expertise that some of these characters would have or should have expressed. It's like, you should have known these things. You're letting me know that this character is so good that they are of an exceptional level, but they're that blinded. Give me a reason why. And it could be one piece of dialogue or something in the background, or we've known in Star Wars that this era that the Jedi have kind of become more very bureaucratic and shut off what's an in-world thing, shut off the living force, and they're very much more dogmatic. They're not really giving. I feel like I'm inserting that from my own history rather than the show telling me that or showing it to me in the writing. Yeah, Drew says, again, that seems like you want to have things stated that do not add anything to the fiction. Your expectations ruin the show for you. That is your bias, not the fault of the show. I agree. I do have a bias. We all have biases when we watch a show. I don't. I like the idea of watching a character from the opposite side. That's like especially, we don't really get to see some, like, how the Jedi affect other people. Yeah, and that's viewer blaming. I don't mean that, because I try to keep myself to be very open minded. It's what I would like to see from the writers of the show is differentiations between different characters. I get they're Jedi, but who are they? I get that they're Jedi on a mission, but have they changed their mission parameters? What are they going to do when they find these people? Are they when they talk about the losses of the Jedi that were killed? Is there any character, like, we get Soul, and we're getting a lot of information from Soul. Like, it feels like he's got a lot of guilt involved, and he's trying to make amends, which I really get. I really understand that, and I like that. And he's not revealing that information. But yeah, Drew says the Jedi are very arrogant, and how they treated the other Force users in Episode 3 showed that. The I really appreciated that episode more than a lot than they get blasted online. I really appreciate the fact that the Jedi are just like, yeah, we're going to come here and kind of recruit your child. It's weird, because it's like, wait, because in my head, and this is how this world is different than our world. I'm like, yeah, but they're children. The adults should be making the decision about how to raise children. It shouldn't be, well, the child should make the choice. My bias on that is like, ew, it kind of feels like you're hiding the fact that you're basically taking children away from other parents. And then of course there's the we'll never see each other again. And I'm going, when do the Jedi really keep people's kids and never let them see their family and parents again? Is that really a thing? I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, right? And I like that part of it because it makes you wonder, um are the Jedi really that good during this period of time? And are the characters like that dogmatic about it, like this is what we're going to do and we're not questioning it? And later on, have they changed their minds about it? And I haven't really like seen the characters do that, and I hope they reveal more of that because the show's not over, mind you. The show's not over, so they're going to reveal more information. I like seeing like the sisters looking at the Jedi like, listen, we got to hide who we are because they're going to come in here and disrupt the way our lifestyle is and stuff, and whatnot. Um, but again, like, did the so a fire starts and the Jedi are close by? Did they not know that fire was happening? Did they not care? I didn't get enough information if maybe they just physically just weren't very close to what was happening. um I don't know. I don't. And we might find out more information that one or more of the Jedi were just like, whatever, we don't care about these people, let's, whatever, we're here for one thing, everybody else doesn't matter. And um and revealing that information amongst the different characters is a way for us to understand, like, do some of these characters agree with each other? Maybe they don't. um we get that from the sisters. We didn't really get that from the Jedi. And now, mind you, the goal of the writers might be just like the Jedi are like a monolithic block. Like, viewed from the outside, we just look at them as these dogmatic monk wizard knights going around the solar system of one mind that are they have no compromise in them. And that may be coming across, but we are giving ourselves, they are showing us multiple characters that are part of the Jedi that do have their own motivations, kind of. And so if you're gonna do that, it's like, I'd like to see more of that. Well, and using this for tabletop role playing games, having characters discuss third party elements can give us an idea as to what those characters are about. So your classic coronation of a new leadership in nobility and your commoners are talking with each other gives us an idea of, like, what's going on in the vast world, because the players may not know, and these commoners are having conversations. It also lets us know about those characters' opinions, right? Like, maybe they just don't have, maybe the players know more information than these commoners do. The commoners just look up at the people in their ivory towers and are just like, they're like this and they're like that and blah blah blah, and they're inviting strangers from other countries and other people who have no loyalty to their own nation, to, a motley crew of non-humanoids doing things like, can we really trust them? And that way we can get an idea, the players, whether they agree with it or not, they can get from NPCs the knowledge or lack of knowledge that's happening around the world. And when the characters talk about a thing, it becomes, they start out at zero and they're gaining more knowledge, even if that knowledge is incorrect, or they get an opinion that the NPCs and other characters have in this world, whether they think very smallly, like, I'm just a commoner and I just harvest crops and they're stealing my crops and sheep and that's all I really care about, to those, maybe certain characters have an expanded horizon, like, oh, I'm the best friend of the prince or something like that. He told me that so and so is going to be coronated, but there's probably going to be they're going to disrupt the proceedings because the viscount or something is going to arrive, and I can't wait for the fireworks to start or whatever. The little things like that. Also, expertise. Even characters who have a limited view of the world, um, giving the characters an expertise in their field and not uh, vacillating on the expertise can let us know what that NPC is about. So, for example, a character doesn't need to know anything, but oh, in the back, you're funny. Yeah. Um. Uh. Uh. Aquaman is jammed in the back because what you cannot see are a spinner rack of old DVDs and Blu-rays, and I think I'm guessing Momoa is supposed to be close to his real height, so he's a pretty big standee in the background. Actually, what's happening is Angel is in front of the window, is behind my head, but all the rest of them are just hanging around and stuff. Yeah, just blocking tables and everything. It is funny. He's kind of looking over his shoulder, like, what's going on back there? With his tall ass. It's so funny. Um, Another thing we can do with our NPCs is that you know um, the sheep herder. Let's go with the sheep herder, right? Like the sheep herder knows nothing about politics and nobility. They're just worried about their sheep, and their sheep are getting eaten, and they're worried about their sheep. But that character might be an expert on sheep herding, and they know where the wool goes. They know the different breeds. They can, in an instant, just kind of look over their herd, and they're like, "We're missing 7 sheep," and you're looking like 1, 2, 3. I can't tell. They're like, "No, no, 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 it's 7, and let's go find out where the sheep went because I can look at their tracks or something." And you're looking down at the ground and like, I don't know where, you know. That maybe that's a horrible analogy, but I like characters while, and they don't need to be experts. What I'm saying is that in a world where you are, when you have a strange subject matter in your world. House of the Dragon has dragons, and there's slight hints of magic. House of the Dragon really is more focused on the nobility and the dragons. You don't really hear about like prophecies and witches and the faith militant thing. Like that hasn't come up in the show. This is more of a civil war, but the what I like about the show is that they are showing us different levels of expertise by different characters. We have rat catchers who are literally walking around catching rats. We have sheep herders who are herding sheep. We have um, military experts and things like that. And some of them, of course, they have their own motivations. They're backstabbers. They're money hungry, power hungry, trying to save their own skin. And I love the fact that we are shown these different levels, and from the outside, me as a consumer from the outside, I'm going, ooh, you should notice that, and you should notice that. And they don't see it, and we're just like, oh, this is not going to work out well. This is definitely not going to work out well at all. Actually, going to something, Drew, that you mentioned about theme, it's funny because there's I'm sure that this is not going over the heads of the writers. Um, um, Matt Smith, our one of our favorite characters in House of the Dragon, whenever Damon puts on a hood, a black hoodie, it's like he's ready. He's just getting nerd herder. He's out there to go murder kill somebody, right? There is some symbolism with that. Whenever Damon puts on the hood, it's like, uh-oh, he's definitely going to go out to murder, like to cause some kind of like murder kill. Something else that he does. You ever see? I love it, and I don't know whether this was an accident, but I love if it was a happy accident, I love they kept it in there. You ever notice that Damon, he does he has a arrogant lean, and whenever he leans, he basically doesn't get involved in stuff. He just likes to see the chaos happen, even though he could get involved in it. He does this thing with his elbow, and he leans right up. The Epic of Dreams. I woke up early enough to catch the DBJ stream. Well, I hope you're catching an electronic stream, because if you caught another stream, we might be crossing streams this early in the morning, because we all have to empty the bladder that early in the morning. Although that would be on my OnlyFans. Thanks for giving me an idea to add some extra content to that. The NQ says, I hear what you're saying. It's good to have a blue collar layman who isn't involved with the exotic aspect of your world. Um, Also, it can give us a. It's funny because I like it when there are one or more characters that are us looking in, like the blue collar layman that's like, you know what, that thing and that thing makes no sense, or that thing and that thing, I don't understand why they're doing, you know what I mean? There is a bit of that. uh, yeah, the N King says that is slightly harder to accomplish in Star Wars since the blue collar laymen are usually weird aliens who talk alienese. You're right. You're very right. Um, yeah, I would. Now the show doesn't. I'm not asking the Acolyte that they have to insert this because that's not what it's about. But I would love to find out, like, what do the average people think about the Jedi, and if they even know if a corrupt version of the Jedi even exists. I'm gathering that that doesn't exist, but there could be people like, oh, the Jedi, right? Every time they come in, they're like, they're pushing their weight around or something, and that could very easily be a line or something like that that gives us some context. Um, like the show is telling us, yeah, they're benign, but they also don't accept the answer no. Like when they ask something, they're real kind about it, but it comes across as a little bit organized crime, right? Like, no, I'm just asking if it looks like your business is really nice here. Would be a shame if something happened to it, right? You know what I mean? Like they are coming across that way, which I like, but we're also supposed to have a little bit of sympathy for at least one of the characters whose name is Soul, and I'd like to have some differentiation. Like yeah, I understand you, guy, and what is happening here, but give us let some of the other characters like speak up or whatever. Yeah, you make the offers. Yeah, make the offers you cannot refuse. Yeah, I like that dark part of the Jedi. I mean, it's weird because I don't have a headcanon about like how Star Wars younglings are brought into the fold, but it's like it's they could have very easily. I saw that, Drew. That's why I didn't put the comment. I It could have very easily been Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, right? People around the galaxy want their children to be tested to see if they could join the martial arts, laser sword, monk knights, whatever, right? And they're adopted into it, knowing that their children are being given over to it. But that's not how it works. And I was like, oh, it's not a school. It's like a recruitment, but like, could is it possible they're only recruiting orphans? The lost children of the universe. Is it? And it didn't work that way, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting a little bit of an insight into this. I like that. um yeah, the Yankee says no wonder Huts don't like Jedi. Rival crime cartels have heat with each other. Hey, listen, there have been there are many analogies when it comes to uh law enforcement, police, military, and organized crime. Like, yeah, they're just both gangs. Some are just more well funded than the other gangs, and maybe I like the idea of that. Maybe that is a reason why the fall of the Jedi and stuff. And listen, as a writer, I can see being in a writing room going, okay, listen, we need to make the Jedi the bad guys in this scene, but we also can't make them the bad guys in the scene because it might turn off our fans who are young. Defund the Jedi. Slow clap. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Right there. That is hilarious. I love it, and very much the idea of like the dark Jedi, the Sith or whatever, you know, pointing out the problems that the Jedi have at that particular time period would be sweet. I'm just like, please let me know these. Like, and now I mind you, the show is called The Acolyte. So for those who are thinking that I think the show should be different, no, 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 no. When we are distracted, we should always come back to the center. What's the name of the show? The show's called The Acolyte. Great. Then that means every other scene, no matter how much I think is extraneous, should be cut off and focus back on that particular thing, right? So, for example, some people can get frustrated when they're watching one of their favorite television shows and it doesn't focus on something that they feel very strongly about. And you got to go back to the title of the show. Like, what's the show's name? Is the title of the show? I need to make something up. Is the title of the show Sir Galahad, or is the title of the show the Round Table? If the show is called Knights of the Round Table, then it should incorporate as many of the Knights of the Round Table as they'd like to focus on. If the show is called Sir Galahad, then you're not going to get much information about the other knights. And maybe that's my issue. My frustration is I'm seeing a lot of Jedi and not given a lot of information about them when it's really about the Acolyte, and I'm going like, I want to know more information. Just give me a hint. You know what I mean? Because I love characters. I love characters. I love their motivations. Like, why do they do a thing? What do they want? What are their needs? What do they want? What do they need? What's in the way of them getting their want and or need? Waves hand, you will get. I gotta say it right. Waves hand, you will give me a starship, and also your force sensitive child, right? Yeah, they didn't explain. Here's the thing that's funny in the scenes in recruiting children, set force sensitive children into the Jedi. They never answered the question, what if people say no? I I would be amazed that what the answer would be if anyone tells the parents of these children, the guardians of these children, the answer is no. Now, again, like I said, the whole like immaculate conception, twins being force sensitive and stuff. We that goes back into the 90s. Like for those who don't know, in the expanded universe books, witches, force magic, that kind of stuff that has always existed back then. And we know that Lucas was very influenced by pulp fiction, not the movie, but pulp action, pulp where stories like The Phantom and Doc Savage and the serials that were done at the days, The Spider, The Shadow, like a lot of the Buck Rogers and all that kind of stuff. He was very influenced by that, and in many of those pulp action stories were influenced themselves by the stories of like Conan, and many of them were these like fisticuff action heroes and surrounded by an entourage of individuals, surviving by their wits. And usually the people who had extraordinary abilities were the bad guys. It was like you could never, in many of those stories, the bad guys had access to special powers and abilities, but they were always corrupting. And so Star Wars was built on that type of storytelling. And despite the fact that the Jedi had special powers, we are told that, yeah, the dark side is easy because they get the more powerful abilities, but it is also very corrupting, just like the evil wizards, fighting Conan and things like that. Drew says, wait, do you think the Acolyte refers to the guy with the red lightsaber? I assumed the Acolyte is Osha May. After all, the two colors are also part of the title card. Um, no. I thought no. I'm fully convinced that the twins represent the Acolyte. That they are both. We are focused on one character, but the twins, each of the twins, is an acolyte of a sort. Right? They are both learning a thing and learning about the world. So that's how I assume the person with the red lightsaber, whether that person is, they give them the title Sith or not, that's what they are. That's how I looked at it at the very end. I know, spoiler alert. But yeah. Yeah, Luke Skywalker is very much a pulp hero. He just runs in and shoots, punches, and stabs his problems. Yeah, yeah, very much so. Captain America's kind of like that too, right? But but I'm with you there, Drew. I think that the acolyte refers to the twins, not the person with the red lightsaber. I think the person with the red, the our new powerful antagonist is the one manipulating things in the background. I wouldn't be surprised if that person caused the elimination of the sisters. I wouldn't be surprised if that person did it. Pretty horrible to do something like that, but yeah, maybe even that. But I would be more amazed if the Jedi knew it happened and didn't do anything, or one of them actually started the fire. Right, that would be pretty horrible. Or what would be even more surprising would be that they unmask our antagonists, and you find out that they are one of one of them. Yeah, that shield doesn't follow the laws of physics, and Cap is like, I'm not even going to honor a response to that because I have the Force. Yeah, uh, but anyway, um, this is supposedly, even though I break the rules all the time, supposedly the show is about tabletop role playing games, and and I find that a great way and a very difficult thing to do on the fly, but a great skill to learn, especially when it comes to world building, is we don't need to info dump on our player characters. What we really can do is set up really great dialogue or imagery to give to our player characters about how the world operates. Um, give players plenty of answers. Do it like Jeopardy style. Give them plenty of answers without context, and the players have to come up with the questions to figure out why. The other day, I talked about a society of people. The players crest the classic crest the hill. They come into a new town, and everyone's wearing blue clothing or scarves or something, and no one explains why until they encounter the player characters. And then from that point, our NPCs can have opinions about why they should or shouldn't be wearing blue. Why aren't you wearing blue? Maybe you should wear blue. I'm scared you're not wearing blue. Here, I've got blue scarves. They're each a silver piece. You need to buy one. Authorities come by. Why aren't you wearing your blue? Young kids go by. Ha ha ha, you're not wearing blue. Right? And all of that behavior from our NPCs is uh, opinionated. What do they think? What do they feel? How are they about their world, and why no one's wearing blue when the player characters arrive? And the player characters now are like, well, should we? Should we not? Should we wear it? I don't. Is this part of a religion? Is there something scary? Is this just tradition? What's going on? And um, expertise. Sometimes if a character is good at a thing, it can be disjarring and disjointed if the character is no longer good at that thing. Um, yeah, now I wish that the green skinned Jedi lady from the temples beneath the mask. Yes, that would be sweet. I would like that. I don't know how well that will go over, but I think it would be kind of cool to see that. Right? That would be. I don't know about you, Drew, but I would really like to see something like that. We don't. We haven't really had a live action true female Sith in live action yet, so that could be it. Very well could be it. Now, we would have to. I don't know if they'll do a flashback scene or something like that, but it would be kind of cool to see like the little cracks in the. Well, this is not how it should work any longer, or um, the Jedi are too soft. We shouldn't have to ask people to recruit their kids. They should just know to hand them over after we do a midichlorian test on them, or some bullshit right there like that, right? God, I hate midichlorians. Um, uh, well, in the way that they're described, I really dislike that. But there's also a fun thing when we use our tabletop role playing experience is from player characters seeing themselves from other people's point of view. For example, if a bunch of NPCs don't recognize the player characters, but they do know about their exploits, having people talk about what they've done for good or bad. It doesn't always have to be negative, but it could be when we get to learn about people's personalities, and when they start, instead of them explaining their own personality, I just want money and power. I just want safety and security. I just want to follow along because I'm a sycophant. Like, you don't know, that's horrible. But if you have NPCs talking about other things in the world, not only can you info dump on your player characters without them really noticing it too much, but we also get to find out about the opinions of the NPCs. For example, you could have your classic. I've always said that taverns are a microcosm of your world, especially in fantasy. Although Star Wars cantinas are the same thing, right? Where the a microcosm exists in the cantina or the tavern of what's going out in the bigger world. So NPCs can be talking in that location about things happening locally that our protagonists don't know. Whether it is, I heard that the Empire or the Imperials or something are reconstructing the old bases. I wonder who is funding it and why those bases are being built again. And then somebody else is like, well, I don't know about you. I've seen stormtroopers march through the community. I'm kind of glad they are. I mean, the corner rats scurry into the urine filled corners and they leave my business alone. I'm tired of them, rugrats coming by and stealing my produce or something like that. And then you find a PCs are like, oh, I thought this place on the outer rim wouldn't have any people from the Empire, but apparently somebody is. Are they really from the old Empire, or is it a new warlord or something? And those things could happen, and that causes questions and conversation and things of that nature. So, and of course, we have when I say about expertise, I don't necessarily mean that characters have to have like a +6 in a particular skill. What I'm saying is that if the players approach the head of the pickpockets, they run all the children that are pickpocketing everyone, and they're and this person is a pickpocket, then that character should know, like, maybe they inadvertently stole something and they don't know the value of the thing they stole. So they're good at stealing things. They just may not be good at disseminating how valuable a thing is. They're like, no, we're just looking for coin and jewelry and data chips or something like that. But, you know, that encrypted missive, I'm not going to break the encrypted missive. You can have it if you want. If, and maybe there's a favor or something like that. So that character shouldn't all of a sudden be like, pickpocketing, I don't know how to pickpocket or whatever. And it just expertise sometimes amongst our NPCs and the player characters, things like that, should be um encouraged, because the breaking the trope is when they don't know a thing or they fail in a thing, and then that gives us a new question about a thing, right? Like the pickpocket that doesn't recognize another criminal could give the players information about, wait, you didn't notice that this notorious criminal showed up in town, and the pickpocket's like, I have no idea who you're talking about. And that may give a clue to the player characters. Oh, this person is so good that they even snuck past the local criminal organization who didn't even know they were there. We need to watch ourselves because this person is ninja-fied, right? Something like that. A lot of times when we break or we disrupt expertise, it's supposed to give us a clue as to the experience of somebody else. That's why that's why in Star Trek, the classic Worf getting his ass beat in the Next Generation television show. Worf, the half Klingon badass security person getting his ass beat, was always trying to tell us that that kicking the ass of this one character means there's no one else on the crew that could possibly stand up to this enemy. Now, mind you, you pull that card too many times, and Worf looks like a like a puss, right? Like, damn, you keep getting your ass kicked, right? But which is a trope in and of itself. But there's a reason for it's like wrestling, right? There's the baby, there's the face, and then of course there's the person who has to like oh, I forgot the terminology for it, but there's the person who just gets their ass beat, and it gets to show us or player characters or anything in your world. You know what, you thought these people were experts. The Knight's Order, the Knight's Order of the Silver Rose that can't be beat, riding on flying griffins, and then the players crest the hill and they see 17 dead bodies of the Silver Rose Knights, and then you go, oh, and the player's like, oh shit, like they could beat our ass and they got killed. So that means there's somebody really dangerous out here. So, and that's what I mean about the expertise levels when described in some of our televised or movie shows, to that sometimes we need them to be careful about them showing us a thing, because sometimes we look at it and go, we kind of squint and go, shouldn't this character be able to do this thing? And then they don't do it. And you're like, jobber, that's it. Wrestling terminology. The person who loses is a jobber because he does the job of making his opponent look good. Thank you very much for that. The Yanking says it had the opposite effect. And then when Worf went to DS9, it's like he became a god. Yeah, they had to. I'm sure the actor was like, listen, I was a good person. I played the part, but please don't have me flipping over yet another digital console while somebody blasts me or grabs me by the throat or throws me up against the wall or stuns me or something like that. That actor was like, listen, even my stunt person is kind of getting tired of like, let's put on the forehead makeup and throw me over the table yet again. um, but yeah, I forgot. I wasn't a DS9. I'm not. I didn't watch DS9. I'm not going to say I wasn't a fan. That's horrible. I like DS9. I never completed the series, which I guess I should have. Um, yep. But yeah, the Jobber. I forgot about the Jobber. The Jobber, the Face. There's a bunch of other things in there. Yeah, and sometimes we can use jobbers to sell a certain thing. The vampire lord in fantasy that has been controlling the nation now is crawling towards the player characters for help or something like that, and the players are like, "Ooh, look at you scrambling around. Now you need our help. Okay, all right." The vampire lord is like, "Please help me. There's something more dangerous than me out there." And of course after that, you know, the begging vampire lord's killed, the players can go out and like beat the ass of whatever other big badder thing is out there. But now they know the expertise level. They're given that information. So like one of the things that it's not bothering me, but it is kind of funny. It's like sometimes we see Jedi like sense other Jedi that are near, and sometimes we don't. And I like fuzzy. I don't mind the force being fuzzy, meaning like there's no hard and fast rules. But I would have liked like one or more of the characters even mention something about it, like something to the effect of um of someone not learning or being attuned to that ability, or a character going, literally doing they don't even have to say it. Like they could just be holding their head or doing the classic "I'm concentrating" kind of thing, and then somebody else is like, "Anything?" and they go, "No, but nothing." It's like a void or whatever. Like you could really write something or show an activity. One of the Jedi reaching down to the ground and closing their eyes and feeling something, and someone else looks at them, and that person just looks back up after a crouch position, and they just shake their head, close their eyes, like no. Little things like that, I think, give us a hint as to capabilities, expertise, and also can explain why something can't happen. How many times have we seen a television show where someone pulls a phone out and goes, no signal, no bar, or they just show us the front of the phone and it's like beep beep and big bold letters on it. It's like no signal or whatever, and they do that on purpose to let us know. Oh, I understand. I know you're thinking they should just call the authorities or call for a pickup truck or tow truck or call their parents or call and then there's something like that. And the reason why they show us that is go, I know consumer, you're viewing this, and for your information, there's no way for them to get out of this. They're being hunted by the murder killer, and there's no way to call because there's no signal out here. Ha 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 ha! You thought we didn't think of that, right? It would be kind of fun to do that, and I feel like Star Wars has enough of that canon without having to explain the canon, but putting it into the canon by giving us a hint about the canon, if that makes sense, right? So they don't actually have to use the words to go, oh, by the way, we can only sense 3 light years away with a person that we bonded with or something. You know what I mean? They could actually do the whole thing. The Yankee says, I want to see Spock do a Vulcan mind melt with a Jedi. That would be kind of fun to. I don't. The two shall never ever meet, but it would be kind of fun for one to intrude on the other. Although Star Wars does happen a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So Star Trek could find evidence that the Star Wars universe existed. So that's a possibility. It would be pretty funny for them to find like an old ancient lightsaber that they hook up to a system and actually activate it again. And someone throws that into like one of the Star Trek TV shows or a movie or something, and no one ever explains it. It's just sitting in the background. That would be pretty funny. That would be pretty fun. And you could even make it canon because it would be so far away from maybe like Earth and such that Star Wars exists in our world, but it just happened a millennium ago, and it's all histories and stuff. So yeah. So guys, thank you very much for letting me rant a little bit. I wasn't really ranting, and like I said, I'm going to finish the Acolyte show, but it does frustrate me a little bit because it's not necessarily written for me. It's probably written for more of a YA younger audience, and I'm I'm the slow trickle of information is a little too slow for me, and it's frustrating the hell out of me for this show. All the wokeism and all that kind of stuff in the show, that's all bullshit to me. I'm just like, I don't get it. That doesn't bother me at all. None of that part bothers me. Um, what I'm really want to know is like let me know what's going on. Give me clues about people's personalities and their motivations, and that's what I'm really looking for. Drew says, "Watch the video from Damien Walter." Okay, I will. Hold on, let me do this. YouTube. Put this on my watch list. Let's see if I can find it. The Acolyte is good Star Wars. Here we go. Hold on. Let's see if I can share this out here. Here we go. There it is. There it is. And now, of course, I can't play it, but I'm going to add it to my save to watch later. There we go. Yep, 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 yep. Matter of fact, maybe I'll watch it right after this. Science Fiction with Damien Walter is the channel name, and yes, that is the video. Okay, cool. This is the first thing that came up, right? It's probably the most recent one. Is it 3 days ago? 3 weeks ago? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I'm very open minded. When I'm a person who acquires lots of information, and I'm a scientist at heart. So it's one of those things where when you always acquire more information, it is a good idea to reassess the information you have when confronted with other information and stuff. So yep, 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 yep. And I swear, I don't have him in my. Why don't I have him in my subscription thing? I've watched plenty of his videos. Hmm, that's weird. It is a great channel. You will find there many sci-fi stuff. You know me, Drew. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. You know that, right? You know that. And listen, I appreciate the concept of looking at the Jedi from the outside. And now, full disclosure, I was hoping that we would watch a Sith show, or at least a Sith versus Jedi show. And I don't mean physically one fighting the other, but that we would get parallel. I was hoping that we would get a parallel storyline with a character being like recruited into the Sith, and then another character being recruited into the Jedi, and we would get like a parallel story, even if they were twins. I didn't know anything about the twins in the show. Mind you, that's not really a spoiler because they almost immediately show us that. But in the show The Acolyte, I was like, ooh, that would be kind of cool. Like how do this, if the Sith were larger and more organized ish during that time period, so many hundreds of years ago, during that remaining hidden, like how would they recruit? Did is the what's the rule of two? Did that even exist at that time? Did the rule exist but they ignored it? And I always thought like that would be really kind of cool. Drew says, I'm not sure that the red lightsaber guy is even a Sith. Exactly. And, you know, these are just titles, right? Like, why wouldn't there be characters who are more powerful than the Jedi who never trained as a Jedi? Why wouldn't there be characters that exist in this Star Wars world, like the witches and the sis and the sisters and other people who are force sensitive and force powerful, um, that took a dark path, but they don't have the title because the title means nothing, right? Um, again, expertise, not titles. If someone is kicked out of the Jedi, that doesn't mean they lose their powers. That's just a title that they were given. But then again, someone who is a monk living on their own homeworld who became very force sensitive doesn't necessarily need to be a Jedi, but could be a badass. And it's like, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I was hoping we would find some more of that kind of stuff. Now, mind you, the show is the show. The show is called The Acolyte, so my desires don't really matter. The show and the writers are trying to tell me something else, so I'm down for whatever they're going to show me. Um, but I am frustrated because I'm someone who's just like, no, I get it. Can we get some more information? No, I get that part. I feel I don't like I don't like stumbling ahead of my story. I love my writers to be either pace with me or outpace me, and I go, "Oh, that's what you were trying to say. That's awesome." And mind you, I'm an idiot, so I could be missing valuable pieces of information that are being dropped on me. But I do like the idea of like the Jedi being the bad guys. Um, Lastly, because I am going a little bit late with the show, uh, can we can we talk a little bit about the idea of immaculate conception? Okay, first of all, I heard a comment where someone was like, um, Darth Vader's birth, Anakin's immaculate conception birth, was the only one in the universe, and I was like, no one ever said that. Now, mind you, I never liked the Immaculate Conception idea in the first place. I think it's kind of dumb. Not dumb in like in the idea of like stealing a simple idea. It's just like it offers so many questions that it opens up a door to a thing in a world where yes, this is science fantasy, but it also comes across as a little icky, right? Like, and therefore, if it's done once, who's to say it can't be done multiple times? So apparently, this is a thing in this world, and I'm like, I mean, it already existed. I was like, it makes perfect sense. Also, as described in the Acolyte, the two ladies that give birth to the twins, they don't. actually say it's immaculate conception. I think the quote is, I was the one that conceived of them, you were the one that carried them. Or I created them, you carried them. Now that could be done by science or a blending of the two or what have you. So it could have been like, this is weird to say, but because they're not going to ever tell you this in Star Wars. I mean, was it in vitro fertilization of some sort? Was it like clone technology? I mean, blending of DNA with cloning technology. I mean, that could have been possible as well. But that didn't even bother me. Um, the fact that there are these little havens and hovels of individuals who are or present themselves out to be experts in using the Force, I like that idea. I think there should be more of it. And I wish, if they continue the Star Wars legacy, I would love like the Jedi and Sith to be not removed, but to be legendary, and to the Force to still be mysterious. And you have these other individuals popping up here and there. And then if you really wanted to really reincorporate the Sith Jedi um, mantras, that those become the stabilizing factors for a new group of people who are like, who are new, unstable, um, uh, don't quite have control of the Force, and give us new Force abilities. I don't understand why we keep going with the same Force abilities. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you very much for letting me rant and rave. Don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but it'll be kind of cool anyway. We'll do the damn thing tomorrow as well. Guys, have a great one. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. For those who've lasted this long in the show, which I really don't understand why I come this last far, it doesn't cost you much of anything. But if you want to defeat the algos, a like, a share, a subscription, a notification, which apparently notifications now require you to hit the notification, do the pull down, and find out about the notifications more so than anything in the past, which is really weird. But yeah, my thought was that Rey should call the new order she builds Skywalker, not Jedi. I thought about that too. Yeah. That all the new students are now part of the Skywalker family tree, which would be kind of cool. I would like the new Rey to be elderly. Like get ourselves find ourselves a British actress of like a pseudo noble, someone that we recognize of, and that it becomes Rey, and then she has the new order that's recruited from these other younger people, and then we can follow the younger people on their trials and tribulations. Maybe even the Rey character is a mentor that passes away at some point, maybe midway through the first movie or something. I would love to see like a new trilogy of that. I think Star Wars lends itself to like a young Jedi Academy, um, or wander. Like I think it lends itself very much to that kind of activity. That would be kind of cool. Especially, you could even have characters who there's one there's one lightsaber amongst like 3, 4, 5 young Jedi. When I say young, I don't mean like 8 years old. Although you could mix and match their ages. That would be kind of cool too. Like 8, 12, 17, 24, 32, and they're all different ages and things like that, and capabilities and stuff. That'd be kind of cool. And show some of those minor force powers like communicating with animals and I don't know, creating illusions, or go back to that healing ability, which is kind of cool, meditative states and things like that. But whatever. Anyway, guys, let me let you guys go. We'll talk about some of this tomorrow. Maybe that's what we'll do tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility. Bye.